and wanted to release it on cable TV as an on-demand option and promote it on TV ads during her primary fight for the Democratic nomination last year. Here's one of those advertisements right now.
Who is Hillary Clinton?
She's continually trying to redefine herself and figure out who she is.
At least with Bill Clinton, he was just, good time Charlie. Hillary's got an agenda.
Hillary is really the closest thing we have in America to a European socialist.
If you thought you knew everything about Hillary Clinton, wait till you see the movie. Hillary, the movie, on DVD now.
Okay, the federal government said that film that was advertised there was one big expensive attack advertisement funded by corporate contributions and blocked it under the McCain-Feingold campaign law. But the filmmakers say the ban violated free speech, the First Amendment, and now the case is right before the Supreme Court as we speak. David Bosse is head of Citizens United, and he produced the film, Hillary the Movie. You have gotten under the cover here into the very key question. Should the United States government be restricting free political speech? That's what you're arguing, isn't it?
It absolutely is right on point. Should the government be able to ban political speech? The First Amendment is free speech, and it is the First Amendment because the Founding Fathers found it to be the most important. And underneath that, political speech is the most protected of all speech, and that's what we have here.
Now, McCain-Feingold, by most lights, and the reason I thought it was a good idea, it mainly controlled advertising on this media. Basically broadcast and cable television, which basically has to do with public airways. It has to do with the public, what we call public territory, if you will.
But
now, you got outside that box. But you got outside that box. You got this something called on demand. And anybody lucky enough to have that feature, you can push a button and you can say, I want to see. I want to see old movies. I want to see a selected group of movies. I want to pay for some, not pay for others. That's all there. You had your movie listed on that, and what is the court looking at there?
Well, first of all, the Federal Election Commission told us we could not do that. We could not advertise our movie. We could make the movie, which they really want to squelch us from being able to do. We put it in theaters, but they want to say you can't let anyone know it's there. You cannot advertise at all. You can't advertise on the radio. You can't advertise on television. And so we ended up putting the film in book form as well.
And the court ruled the other day, I was listening to the arguments yesterday, and what I think you made your case on is when one of the justices said, if this were a book, would it also be outlawed by McCain-Feingold? And once we think about book burning in this country and banning books, this country says we don't do that here, right? That's where you won your argument.
I think so. And let me tell you this. It was because Justice Kennedy asked that very question. If the content of this film was in book format, to the Deputy Solicitor General of the United States, the government's lawyer, sir, would this be the same? If the content was in book form, would you say, as the government, we should ban this speech? And he said yes. He also said the Kindle, which is the new technology that wasn't even thought of when McCain-Feingold came down, where books come on electronically off satellite, also fall under McCain-Feingold. So they wanted to ban all speech, and that is dangerous, and I think that's where they overstepped.
Let me ask you about your motive. It seems to me that you're a little bit of smiling going on here, David. I know you a little bit. I think from what I've read is you wanted this case.
I did. I did. I've been wanting this case for a long time.
You made this movie for the purpose of testing this law? No, I'm asking you.
That's right, I did. I absolutely did.
You made the movie for the purpose of advertising it on television so that somebody would wave a flag and say that violates McCain-Feingold so that you could push this to the Supremes and get a ruling on the First Amendment aspect.
That is a 100% right. In 2004, Michael Moore made Fahrenheit 9/11. I saw the impact of that film and what documentary film can do in the public discourse when people are paying attention and want information. Education.
Well, that was a very entertaining film by a lot of lights. I think a lot of people
ours is as well. You have not seen our film. Ours is an entertaining film as well. It does. Look, forget the content. Is it possible to enjoy
this film if you respect Senator Clinton?
Absolutely. Look, I watched
it.
Look, you may not agree with the content.
Asking, could a person who respected, for example, a conservative could look at Michael Moore and say, you know, the guy's a hell of a filmmaker, right, even if I disagree with him. Could anybody say that to you?
Well, look, I'm not Michael Moore, but we've now made 11 films in the last 3 years. So we're getting better at that craft. So I think our film stands on its own. But the point is, I don't care whether you agree with the content or not. I don't agree with Michael Moore's content. I believe and fight yesterday at the Supreme Court for his right to do that.
What do you make of the fact that there's a feature film? This is another question. We've done your thing now. We've done the book discussion here. What do you make of the fact that Dennis Quaid's going to play Bill Clinton in this new movie? Julianne Moore, who's a very important actor, she's going to play Hillary Clinton. They're bringing back on film. Peter Morgan, the guy that did The Queen, a hell of a movie, is bringing back the Clinton-Lewinsky scandal. What's that going to do politically?
Well, I don't know what it'll do politically.
Years later.
I can tell you right now, if they were making it when Hillary Clinton was a candidate for federal office, they would not be able to put it out under McCain-Feingold. A Hollywood movie, the one you're just describing, would be illegal and not be able to advertise.
But I thought the issue was that yours was funded by corporate sources.
Who's paying for this movie?
Well, all movies are made by corporations.
And exactly. That is the exact point. What makes GE different than Citizens United Productions?
So in other words, that if a corporation has a political intent, it's impossible to discern that.
That's what the court is going to decide.
Because a lot of liberals in Hollywood make liberal movies all the time.
That's right. And they're all funded by corporations. And that was what the justice asked yesterday. If Simon & Schuster publishes a book, what's the difference between Simon & Schuster and GE?
Take off your conservative hat for a split second here.
Certainly.
What will be the impact on McCain-Feingold if this law gets... I get the sense they may be striking down. There's a possibility that Judge Kennedy, that fifth guy out there, Anthony Kennedy, will be on your side of this fight. It could be 5-4. Will they strike down McCain-Feingold, all this campaign restriction that we've been looking at for years?
Look, we all try to do our crystal ball here.
Ruling?
I think, look, I feel very confident. First of all, Ted Olson, the former Solicitor General, he is the best there is. He argued the case for me. We were honored.
Did he know about this case as you developed it from day one?
He did, yes.
So he knew you were going to build a movie so that you could test a case?
Absolutely. And he did an unbelievable job in presenting our case yesterday before the Supreme Court. And so to have him argue this case, it's tremendous. And I think we all want to win the entire thing, the entire argument. But I'll be satisfied with winning a piece of it. And I know
who's going to be happy. The conservative columnist George Will has been pounding the table on this issue since day one, arguing that you cannot deny or regulate free speech in this country. Political speech is protected. Of course, I'm all the way on this stuff. I think free speech includes things that we hate.
It absolutely
does. Things I despise are covered. Do you agree with that?
I said I fought yesterday for Michael Moore's right to do this.
Free speech. Anyway, thank you, sir. David Bosse, who may well be the victor in a Supreme Court case to be resolved in the next couple of weeks. Up next, B-Rod on the radio, disgraced. Well, maybe not disgraced yet. If he wins his case in court, he may not be ex-governor. He is an ex-governor. Rod Blagojevich, he's been impeached, but he has